Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back to Fade to Fact. Today we're diving into one of the most beloved cult classics of the late 90s, a film that somehow manages to be both hilariously absurd and oddly profound. The Big Lebowski, 1998. Written and directed by the Coen brothers, this movie gave us unforgettable characters, endlessly quotable lines, and a strange but captivating plot involving mistaken identity, stolen rugs, eccentric bowlers, and even nihilists. When it first hit theaters, though, The Big Lebowski wasn't exactly a smash hit. Critics were divided, audiences were confused, and the film seemed destined to fade into obscurity. But like the dude himself, it abides. Over the years, it's built a devoted fan base with annual Lebowski fests, endless merchandise, and countless rewatches by fans who never get tired of quoting, "That rug really tied the room together." What makes this movie so endlessly fascinating isn't just its story. It's everything that went into making it, from real-life inspirations behind the dude, to on-set improvisations, to hidden cinematic references. The Big Lebowski is packed with details that even the most die-hard fans might have missed. And today, we're pulling back the curtain to reveal 20 of the wildest, funniest, and most surprising things you never knew about this cult favorite. So grab a White Russian, lace up your bowling shoes, and let's roll into the world of The Big Lebowski. 1. Jeff Bridges wore his own clothes as the dude. One of the most iconic parts of the dude's character is his wardrobe, those baggy shorts, old cardigans, jelly sandals, and sunglasses. What's amazing is that much of it came straight from Jeff Bridges' personal closet. The Coens encouraged him to pick clothes he actually wore in his day-to-day life, giving the character a lived-in authenticity that no costume department could have fully captured. That decision made the dude not only believable, but also relatable. He was, quite literally, Jeff Bridges dressed as himself, just a little more spaced out. 2. The dude was based on a real person. The inspiration for the dude came from Jeff Dowd, a real-life film promoter and political activist the Coens knew in Los Angeles. Dowd, who actually went by the Dude, had a reputation for his eccentric mannerisms, his love of White Russians, and his passionate but rambling storytelling style. The Coens didn't lift his biography word for word, but his laid-back lifestyle, coupled with his quirky outlook, became the bedrock of the character. When Bridges met Dowd before filming, he studied his behavior, right down to how he laughed and gestured, helping him flesh out one of cinema's most unforgettable slackers. 3. John Goodman's Walter was inspired by a friend of the Coens. Walter Sobchak might feel like a caricature, but the Coens based him loosely on their friend, screenwriter John Milius. Milius, known for his work on Apocalypse Now, was larger than life, with a gruff personality, strong conservative views, and a fascination with guns. While Goodman made the character his own with explosive humor and unpredictable rants, you can definitely spot shades of Milius in Walter's intense monologues and strict worldview. This blending of reality and performance created a character both ridiculous and oddly believable. 4. Donnie was written for Steve Buscemi. The Coens had a running joke with Steve Buscemi in their earlier films. His characters always talked too much. From Miller's Crossing to Fargo, he was chatty, nervous, and constantly filling the silence. To flip that dynamic, they wrote Donnie as a quiet, almost invisible character who rarely gets a word in before Walter shuts him down with a firm, "Shut up, Donnie." It became one of the film's funniest running gags, with Buscemi playing against his usual type and making Donnie's awkward silences strangely endearing. 5. John Turturro built Jesus Quintana from the ground up. Jesus Quintana, with his purple jumpsuit, wild strut, and bizarre intensity, is one of the most memorable minor characters in movie history. While the Coens provided the framework, John Turturro added countless touches that made Jesus unforgettable. The hairnet, the bowling ball licking, and the flamboyant mannerisms were all his ideas. Turturro even persuaded the Coens to let him spin off the character years later in The Jesus Rolls, 2019, proving just how deeply he had invested in creating this eccentric bowler. 6. The bowling alleys were more about conversations than games. Although bowling is the backdrop of the story, the characters are rarely shown playing the game. Instead, the lanes act like a stage where the dude, Walter, and Donnie debate everything from kidnapping plots to philosophy. The Coens intentionally filmed it this way to highlight the absurdity of these conversations against the casual, mundane setting of a bowling alley. The sport itself was almost irrelevant. It was the camaraderie and the strange debates that mattered. 7. The dream sequences drew inspiration from classic Hollywood. The dude's surreal bowling dreams, complete with Busby Berkeley-style choreography, were crafted as a love letter to old Hollywood musicals. The Coens wanted to capture what it might look like if a stoner drifted into a full-blown MGM fantasy number. Elaborate costumes, over-the-top lighting, and choreographed dancers blended with bowling imagery created a bizarre but mesmerizing detour that became one of the film's signature sequences. It's a perfect blend of parody, homage, and pure Coen weirdness. 8. Sam Elliott expanded his role as the Stranger. The Stranger, the cowboy who narrates and occasionally pops up to chat with the dude, wasn't initially meant to play such a prominent role. But once Sam Elliott stepped into the part, his magnetic presence and rich baritone voice convinced the Coens to expand his scenes. Elliott's narration adds a mythic, almost Western quality to the story, contrasting the absurdity of the dude's world with a voice that feels timeless and wise. His inclusion elevated the film's tone, giving it an extra layer of charm. 9. The rug really did tie the room together. At first glance, a rug doesn't seem like much of a plot device, but that infamous line, "That rug really tied the room together," became the film's rallying cry. The Coens chose the rug carefully to reflect the dude's eclectic style, and it became the perfect symbol of how something ordinary could spark an extraordinary adventure. Fans embraced it so much that replica rugs became popular collector's items. What started as a simple visual gag turned into one of the most iconic catchphrases in movie history. 10. Jeff Bridges had an unusual pre-filming ritual. To really lock into the dude's stoned, spaced-out vibe, Jeff Bridges developed a quirky routine. Before filming each scene, he would ask the Coens, "Do you think the dude smoked a joint before this?" If they said yes, Bridges would rub his eyes until they turned bloodshot, giving him that dazed look without relying on makeup. It's a small detail, but it added to the authenticity of his performance and made the dude feel like a real guy you could bump into at the grocery store. 11. The Coens actually hate explaining the plot. Over the years, fans and journalists have repeatedly asked the Coen brothers to break down the meaning of The Big Lebowski. But the filmmakers have consistently dodged those questions, insisting that the film isn't about solving the mystery, it's about the characters and the strange world they inhabit. Joel Coen once joked that trying to explain the plot was like untangling a rug that's already been peed on. Their reluctance to spell things out is part of why the movie endures. It leaves space for endless fan theories, debates, and even college courses dedicated to unpacking its many layers. 12. The script was written years before filming. Although The Big Lebowski came out in 1998, the Coen brothers actually wrote the script several years earlier, right after finishing Barton Fink in the early 90s. They let it sit on the shelf while working on other projects, including Fargo. By the time they finally got around to shooting it, the story and characters had already been polished and refined through years of thought. That long gestation period explains why the movie feels both carefully structured and totally loose at the same time. It had time to marinate before it ever hit the screen. 13. The White Russian became a pop culture phenomenon. Before The Big Lebowski, the White Russian was a relatively obscure cocktail. But after the film, it became the dude's signature drink and a must-order for fans. Bars began serving it under the nickname Caucasian, and many Lebowski fests feature competitions for who can mix or consume the best one. In a way, the movie permanently changed cocktail culture, proving just how influential one character's drink order can be. 14. The Dude's philosophy turned into a real religion. The Dude's laid-back worldview resonated so strongly with audiences that it eventually gave birth to Dudism, a tongue-in-cheek religion that promotes taking it easy and avoiding unnecessary stress. Founded in the mid-2000s, Dudism has ordained thousands of Dudist priests worldwide. While many embrace it as a joke, others see it as a genuine life philosophy, proof that a stoner character from a quirky comedy can inspire a surprisingly broad movement. 15. Critics didn't appreciate it right away. When the movie first hit theaters, the reviews were mixed. Some critics dismissed it as rambling and unfocused, unsure how to process its strange mix of noir-style mystery and absurdist comedy. The box office numbers were also underwhelming. But as the years went by, audiences kept revisiting it, quoting it, and finding new layers of humor. Eventually, it was reevaluated and celebrated as a cult masterpiece. 16. Lebowski Fest turned fans into a community. What started in 2002 as a small fan gathering in Louisville, Kentucky, quickly grew into a worldwide phenomenon. Lebowski Fest brought together fans dressed as their favorite characters, bowling tournaments, live music, and endless quoting of dialogue. The event spread to cities across the U.S. and beyond, proving that The Big Lebowski wasn't just a film, it was a shared cultural experience. 17. Raymond Chandler was a key influence. The Coens openly admitted that the film's convoluted mystery was influenced by the hard-boiled detective novels of Raymond Chandler. In Chandler's stories, the intricate plots were often less important than the eccentric characters and vivid atmosphere. The Big Lebowski followed that same tradition, creating a mystery that doesn't really matter but surrounds it with unforgettable personalities. 18. Donnie's death gave the story unexpected weight. For much of the film, Donnie is little more than comic relief. But when he dies of a heart attack in the middle of the chaos, it adds a surprisingly somber tone to the story. The Coens inserted this moment deliberately to ground the narrative, reminding viewers that even in a comedy this absurd, life has its harsh turns. It's one of the reasons the film lingers emotionally long after the laughs. 19. The script became a treasure trove of catchphrases. Few movies from the 1990s generated as many quotable lines as "The Big Lebowski." From "The Dude Abides" to "This aggression will not stand, man," the film is overflowing with phrases that fans gleefully repeat decades later. The script's mix of casual slang, surreal dialogue, and sharp wit made it one of the most quotable comedies of all time. 20. Home video made it a cult classic. Despite a lukewarm theatrical run, The Big Lebowski thrived on VHS and DVD. Fans discovered it, rewatched it, and shared it with friends, building a word-of-mouth legacy that turned it into one of the most rewatched films of its era. Its endless quotability and eccentric characters made it the kind of movie people could watch dozens of times without ever getting tired. And there you have it, 20 things you might not have known about The Big Lebowski. What started as a quirky, confusing release in 1998 has since grown into one of the most beloved cult classics of all time. From Jeff Bridges wearing his own clothes, to John Turturro inventing Jesus Quintana's eccentric persona, to the film inspiring an actual religion. It's proof that this movie is far more than just a comedy about a stolen rug. The Coen brothers crafted a story that somehow feels timeless, with characters so strange and specific that they become universal. It's a film about misfits, mistakes, and bowling alleys, yet it's also about friendship, philosophy, and the odd ways life tends to spiral. That's why, decades later, fans are still quoting lines, sipping White Russians, and proudly declaring, "The Dude Abides." If you enjoyed this look behind the scenes, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to Fade to Fact for more deep dives into your favorite films, and let us know in the comments which movie you'd like us to cover next. Until then, take it easy, just like the dude would.